The Joe Rogan Experience.
I got to go there more. I was starting to come there more. In fact, you were
Well, it's
nice
closed,
enough to
Bob.
bring me up. Oh.
Yeah, it's close.
I
There's a
meant
disease.
just come,
You know
I
about
meant
the
come there more.
disease.
A lot of people in the back of that store. I got stories.
I bet you do. Disease stories?
No, people are fucking there.
Do you
Kinison, I got Kinison his first spot at the store.
You got him his first spot?
Yeah.
Like you
I
were
told
there the
Mitzi,
first time he went on stage?
Yeah. I met him
What
in...
year is this?
Long time. 80, I didn't have a gig. 83, 84, I don't know.
Well, and that's crazy because 86, he was famous.
Yeah. What happened was this. So he'd already been teed up for Mitzi to watch, but I had set up I told her to watch him. I met him in Houston, and he was kicked out of the comedy workshop in Houston because of the shit he would say on stage, because he had been running his, tent show of faith healing with his brother Bill, and they told me some real fucked up stories about shit they would do. It was a bit charlatan and a bit trying to help people, but also talking about Jesus quite a bit. And he was cynical about it, but also very confused, very conflicted about it, about what is it? Because in his dying on the ground, supposedly, he looked up at the sky and was talking to God, is what Bill tells us. When I met him...
Carl LeBeau says. Carl LeBeau was there.
Carl was there?
Yeah, Carl was there when it happened.
That's a whole complicated non-story right now.
It's a heavy story.
It's very fucking heavy.
Yeah, their story is very, very heavy.
I was around.
Yeah.
I was around for all of it. I was there in the building for those 6-7 years. So what happened was, when I met him, you would have had the same response. He goes, "They won't let me work here." I met him at the comedy workshop. Meet me at 1 p.m. He shows me this telephone pole, and he had put a picture of himself on it, and he kept putting up, they kept taking down. He was in the Houston Chronicle on the front page of the Arts and Entertainment, and he dressed himself, because they banned him from the club, in a diaper and a crown of thorns, and blood coming from the crown of thorns down his face with his eyes rolled back in his head, and said that he had been persecuted just like Jesus from playing the comedy workshop. But it's pretty fucking heavy, And he had made it quite a name for himself and had a following there. And went, "I don't know what to do, man. I want to come out to L.A." And I went, "Well, I'll help you out." I was playing the Laugh Stop in Houston.
In River Oaks.
Yeah.
I used to work that place.
I liked it.
I did
This guy named Howard.
Who was the owner then? I'm trying to remember. Anyway.
This is our first dead air. It was great.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
What happened was Sam, I sat next to Mitzi in her booth. He got on stage and he did the whole bit before he had done the Young Comedians show that I was on that Rodney did, Rodney's first Young Comedians show. And it was the whole thing about, the kid whenever they do those World Vision commercials with a starving kid, and it's famous, one of the most famous things that any comedian's done, which was just a truism.
Yeah.
Which is the cameraman can give them a sandwich, starving kid. Go get out of the desert, go to where the food is.
That's a bit that I used in a conversation with a guy. It was a weird conversation. There was a guy who wrote a book on comedy. He was teaching a comedy course at a university. And he was sitting here talking to me, and he said that the best comedy always punches up. Because there was a time when people really believed that nonsense. Like that there was a formula to comedy, and that comedy should always attack the large power structures, and that the small people should be, elevated by comedy. So he's sitting here telling me this. I go, that's nonsense. I go, one of the greatest bits of all time is literally about starving children.
Yeah.
There's no...
Listen to Carlin.
There's no further down that you could punch. One of his other great bits was about dead people getting fucked in the ass. You remember that?
Yep.
The bit about homosexual necrophiliacs who would pay money to be with the freshest male corpse. Those are two bits where you're punching down as low as you can. Someone's dad died, and this guy's fucking him. I mean, it doesn't get any... There's no further you can punch down.
He was on stage in the main room, and he was doing a bit where he says, "This is what happened to my marriage," and he would unplug the mic. "This is my dick," and without he did not need a mic to prove the point, but he would lay on the ground with his girth, and he would pretending he was having sex with his wife from behind. And he goes, "This is what happened to my marriage." And he says, "I'm trying to fuck her." And she's like, "We got to fix the fence." And he goes, "Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to fuck." This is, it needs a new coat of paint. But we can't, you can't do that now, really. I mean, you could if you were Sam.
He could do it again.
He could
if
do
he
it.
was alive now, he could do it. First of all, he was uniquely qualified for that kind of comedy because he was short and he was fat and he was going bald and he wore a beret
and the long coat, and he was hanging out with all the rock and roll and porn people.
And the coat, he came on stage like he was a child molester or something. You know? I mean, look at that picture. That's him and Bill Hicks.
I love Bill.
Wow, that's a crazy picture.
Bill was the sweetest, most timid guy.
Does Bill have his nails done there? So he's got nail polish on. What's going on with his tips? Oh, it's the shadows. But that was...
Sam was a sweetie then.
So when you see him then, I mean, when you go on stage, that was part of why it worked, It wasn't like, if he was John Mulaney and he had that act, handsome and slim, that, hard to pull off.
Right.
You had to look like you got fucked over. He looked like he got fucked over.
And he did. And he was doing faith healing shows, and they told me a story where he had been. I wasn't going to tell it, but it's fucking weird. Yeah. So they're healing people. So they're in some godforsaken place. I don't know where. And he goes, "Come up here, and we're gonna heal you." And like a 7-foot tall guy with drawstring pants and a t-shirt. He said he was like Lenny from Mice and Men. He was mentally impaired. He said he was going to come up and he was going to do the whole thing with him and get out the spirit and all that. And as these guys coming up, he runs up to the stage and he's so tall he hits his head on a beam and he splits his head open, but he doesn't fall down. Bill, his brother, will tell you this story. And the guy's pants fall down, and he had the biggest dick in the world. And so his head is gushing blood, and his dick is swinging. And he's going, "Oh, oh," like young Frankenstein, Peter Boyle. And it's horrifically upsetting. And the way it's been told to me, I don't know if these stories whisper down the lane, is that they went back to the same place after a while. The guy came back. And he had some other mishap. I don't want to say he hit his head again, but he fell. He was the same guy just trying to have a redo to get healed.
Oh, God.
I don't know what's more embarrassing. Well, if your head gets split open, but the whole room can see you've got a giant cock, maybe it's a blessing and a curse. I don't know.
There's probably a few gals that hit him up after that.
But drawstring pants means there's not a lot of cleanliness down in the junk.
Well, you could wash them up. If you're a gal looking for a big dick, like there it is.
Or a guy looking for a big dick.
Or maybe a guy you can trick into fucking you. Yeah.
That would be the move. Or you could play
not that bright.
Like you do with a bat in baseball. Just
right. So
have him for that.
So who gets the first at bat?
It's the top. It's that. Make that sound again. I can't.
I don't know.
And I can't roll my R's either. But
then
the answer to Kinison, how quick he popped, was after that set, like a week later, Rodney came in to see him. And I'd known Rodney. Rodney liked me. I like you, man. I met him in La Jolla. He came up to me. "You're funny, man. You're a Jew. You're never going to be happy. You got a fast mind. You're all fucked up, man. You're never going to be happy." And he was trying to clean up at La Costa. And he comes in. He goes, "I can't do it, man. No booze, no coke, no pot, no pills. I can't do it." And he's with 2 women. And and I hung out with him all weekend. He kept coming to the condo and hung out with me. And Kinison, he saw Sam, and I love this guy. So I do the Young Comedian special on HBO. I had a great set right before Sam. I had a 15-minute set. Sam had a 15-minute set. I was in it for 3.5 minutes. Sam was in it for 15 minutes because it was a monumental. It was, and then a year later he was in back to school.
Yeah.
So that's why it was a 3-year deal with him.
That's crazy.
And he was a sweetheart.
When I was 19, I worked as a security guard at Great Woods Center for the Performing Arts in Mansfield, Massachusetts.
Right.
And Rodney was there, and he was backstage. And I was like, I didn't get a chance to meet him, but I was backstage. It was like a hallway. It's hard to know if this is a real memory because when you're 19, your brain is mush. And it was so long ago, and I got hit in the head a lot. But I remember they were talking about how he didn't have any pants on.
No, never.
And he had a bathrobe.
Yeah, balls
And
out.
I remember him pacing back and forth and looking down the hallway. I know I definitely saw him at least once, and I definitely saw him on stage with the bathrobe on. But I remember looking down the hallway, seeing this guy. I'm like, how crazy. He doesn't have any pants on. And he's going to go on stage. Like, this is what. And then him up there just didn't give a fuck. I mean, had no fucks to give. He was a movie star.
He's become at 58, by the way,
Yeah.
it was Caddyshack. That's
He
how
was in
long
his
it took
60s
him.
when I saw him, and apparently smoked a shitload of pot
Every day.
backstage, and went on stage, my wife, and just murdered. I mean, one punchline after another punchline, and people don't know the story about him. Quit doing comedy for years and became an aluminum siding salesman.
He was born Jacob Cohen, changed it to Jack Roy, and then a club owner called him Rodney Dangerfield. That's how he was named by a club owner.
Wow. What club?
I don't know. But he had a rough go. He had as rough a go. He had the no respect thing was if you're going to pick a brand, a catchphrase, it wasn't a catchphrase. It was his mantra.
Yeah, well, that made him, you know? I got no respect, I'll tell you. No respect at all.
I
When he
fucking
started
loved
doing
him.
that?
He would
Oh,
have
my God.
He would have loved you. Like loved you because of the fuck. He always said, and I've said this before, so I'm sorry if anybody has heard me say this, but he always said, the key, man, is you just go like a tank, because nobody wants you to make it. Everybody's trying to stop you. You just go like a tank. Fuck them all. Just go like a tank. Because he had come up, it took him so long to get anywhere. And he would go on Tonight Show, and if you look at any of these clips that they're running all over the internet, it's fucking killer. And Carson's hitting the desk, and it's real special.
Well, he was a special guy. The story was special, too, because it showed that, you know, he was trying to make it, and it fell apart, and then he took didn't he take like 10 years off?
Yeah, he was aluminum siding was the years of.
Many years.
Yeah.
And then he came back and became the biggest fucking movie star in the world.
But he couldn't, it took him to 58, and they put him in Caddyshack, and a lot of the jokes were his.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them, I mean, it was, you know, Harold Ramis and stuff, so it was the A-team.
Genius movie, man. Those movies were so good.
Fucking Bill Murray in that. Chevy was great in. Everybody's great in that
Remember
movie.
when he's in the classroom and Kinison's teaching him?
Oh, yeah. Screaming at him.
Kinison played a fucking off-tilt Vietnam vet who's screaming.
He just wrote him into it, too.
I was there!
That's a great movie, Back to School.
Oh, it's a fucking great movie,
yeah,
man.
and
It's
Easy
a
Money
great
was
movie.
really great.
Yeah. Oh, he had some classics, man. Caddyshack. He had some classics. He was awesome.
I officiated his funeral.
Oh man.
It was pretty intense to put him away. I was with him in the emergency. Sorry, I got a little in the intensive care. He was in a coma, so I'd go in and talk to him.
How old was he when he passed?
84.
That's amazing. He did all that coke and he made it to 84.
He stopped doing coke. He just liked pot, but he
When
did
did
a
he stop
lot
doing
of coke.
When did he stop?
I think about 10 years before he died.
Still amazing. 74 years old doing coke. Going, I got another 10 years. I'll tell you what.
I can't. How do you stop? No booze, no coke, no pot, no pills.
Yeah.